Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hi, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today we are discussing Deep Space Nine, Season 7, Episode 13, Field of Fire. Ezri tracks down a serial killer with help from Joran Dax.
How did this one sit with you?
With me, I like this one. It's one of my personal faves. How did you feel about it?
I thought it was okay.
Okay. Not amazing.
No, so I'm curious why it's one of your faves.
I don't really know.
Okay.
I think I just like the tension and the fact that it does a bunch of things that they don't usually do on Star Trek.
Which are?
Well, they have a serial killer. On Star Trek, almost all the bad guys have some moral reasoning. There is always a reason behind it, but here we just have a psychopath killing at random. Well, not at random, but killing indiscriminately. And not only that, he's a Vulcan.
Vulcans have come off not so well in Deep Space Nine. I don't know how they are in other series.
They seem to have it in for the Vulcans here in season 7 of this show. They're usually very objective and distant, so it's really surprising that one was a serial killer, because that's seen as quite an emotional thing to be. It's good though. Why wouldn't they have that sort of thing going on?
It's cool that they did that because the easy way out would be to choose a random species and have that be what the killer was, because then you don't taint anything.
Yeah, or a Klingon or a Cardassian or something. Oh, well, I'm not sure how a Cardassian would fit into the current political climate, but Vulcans are traditionally the good guys, which is silly, because why would they all be good?
That's why he became a killer. He wanted to prove there's diversity among Vulcans.
I like how when she asked him why he did it, he just says, because logic demanded it.
Well, duh. Wouldn't it? Everyone should be doing this.
A lot of serial killers do consider themselves superior and or have their own internal logic to a situation.
I can't see someone pulling off serial murders without it making sense in their own head. You need that, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, otherwise you wouldn't do it.
This makes no sense, but I'm gonna kill him anyway.
I'm getting the no feeling. Better continue. They also used projectile weaponry, or guns as they are known.
With a little twist, that was kind of neat.
Kind of neat.
Okay, it was pretty neat. And they worked in Odo's crime novel fascination.
Yeah, it's weird that he speaks of Earth crime novels as if there aren't crime novels written by other species.
He has a fetish for Earth crime.
Because he wants to be a real boy.
Crime was better back in the good old days.
I think it's just because the writers are from Earth. So
Oh, that could be it.
fairly heavy Earth-centric bias running throughout the show.
Nah.
The rifles do break just about everything, though. As in, they are by far the most useful weapon they've ever had on the show.
That weapon is insane.
They should definitely use these whenever anything bad happens and they need to defend themselves. So many episodes we've been through where if they'd had these rifles, then it wouldn't have been a big deal.
It makes assassinating anyone trivial.
It really does.
I don't remember what they said the range was, but it was pretty good from what we saw.
Even if the range was only a few dozen meters, it would be more than enough. But it seemed like it could go almost all the way across the station.
That's the feeling I got too, that you could shoot anyone on that station.
And these weapons can be trivially replicated.
Anyone could make them. You could see through walls perfectly. It's not even heat signature or anything. You see them.
The headset alone was massively overpowered, but when you include the rifle, it needs to be nerfed. There needs to be a balance update.
They need a patch.
Yeah, it's broken, basically.
And there was open access to it. Esri went and got it and played around with it.
She presumably has authorization. I hope they didn't just leave it in a cupboard in a room.
Kind of seemed that way. No one will use this.
They all look down on this kind of technology. Bullets. They're like, oh, that's no good. No, it's very good. It's a lot better than phasers. If you get attacked by guys with phasers, these weapons are superior. And then everyone would be using these, and then they develop a bunch of ways of blocking it, and things would get very confusing.
It was strange how they kind of didn't seem to care about how powerful this weapon is and the implications of its existence.
It would have been nice for someone to say this should never have been invented.
Yeah, or make it so it was unique and not possible to replicate. Because it sounds like anyone could make this thing.
Well, they needed to have two so that they could have that really cool duel at the end.
Oh, right. Well, make an excuse for only two to exist.
There's plenty of ways they could have done that. They could have found the replication pattern and then replicated one, but then it got deleted or something. It automatically deleted itself, so they couldn't replicate further ones. Yeah, there's a lot of ways they could have done that. As it is, this show is completely broken now that they have these. Of course, they may just forget about them ever existing.
No, they wouldn't do that.
Oh, yeah, that would be unheard of.
Although it would be great if they realized how powerful this thing is and they used it and immediately won the war.
Next episode, they just assassinate everyone. Maybe the range is unlimited. Zoom all the way to Cardassia. Find Damar. I did like the 1v1 at the end, and the scene where she gets in the lift with the guy, and Duran is sure it's the right guy. Which I actually did find a little bit confusing because I wasn't sure how he could see the guy's eyes when Esri couldn't.
um, magic.
Yes, magical trill science.
I'm split about the whole Duran thing because I like that he was separate from her and she was able to talk to him. But then I don't understand why she had to do that. Why can't she talk to Duran inside of her or just access those thoughts and memories within her? It's already part of her. I see it as an excuse to have Duran outside of her, so it's more interesting for us but then I still struggled with it.
It might have been better if they skipped the whole ceremony thing.
That's the part that bothers me. Maybe if it were all in her head and there were no ceremony attached to it, I think I would have accepted it more. I did like when she would talk to him aloud, and then people would, "What are you talking about? Why are you saying things?"
I like the actor for Duran. He was kind of good creepy.
He is really good. He's appropriately intense and creepy.
He wasn't overblown crazy. Well, he was a bit, but he was more kind of persuasive, kind of overbearing, which that's nice. It's not the same actor that portrayed him last time he appeared ages ago.
It's been so long I couldn't even remember.
Oh, he appeared as a hallucination when Dex first found out about him, which was Jadzia. In this episode, Esri says that Curzon buried his memory, but Curzon never knew about him.
Huh?
So, after Duran had the symbiont for 6 months, they patched the symbiont with a nicotine patch, which erased the memory or suppressed the memory of Duran.
When did they talk about this? I don't remember.
Season 2.
Okay.
Then Curzon got the symbiont. Then Jadzia got the symbiont, and the nicotine patch wore off. And she
Oh,
started to
okay.
remember. We talked about it on the podcast. We were saying, how do they have the ability to block certain memories from a symbiont?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
really weird.
I remember. Yeah, because memories are okay. I remember that conversation.
Yeah, how does that work? How
It
can
doesn't.
they? Yeah, pretty much.
Magic Trill Science strikes again.
There are things you can hand wave over, and there are things that hand waving over causes problems. So Curzon should never have known about Duran, but in this episode, Esri says that Curzon suppressed his memory. So that's, whatever. To be honest, the ceremony for getting Duran to appear kind of ruined the entire point of the episode Facets, where Jadzia gets her past hosts to inhabit different members of the crew.
How so?
Well, apparently they can also just summon them as ghosts.
But one at a time. I'm making that rule up.
She did them one at a time anyway. In
Oh.
Facets.
I thought she. Oh, yeah.
Duran was in that one, portrayed by Cisco. They had him inside the cell.
Oh, yeah.
He's super creepy.
So now I like the ceremony even less.
Yeah, they really should have just made it Duran and Esri talking. They didn't have to explain it particularly, I wouldn't think. It would be clear from context, or it could be made very clear from context that she's battling with her inner demons.
Yeah, that wouldn't be confusing for the viewers, and it would work better.
It would just be a narrative structure for a character discussing things inside their head with their multiple personalities.
I had a fear with this episode in the beginning that I'm glad didn't happen. I thought they were going to end up making Esri the killer, the serial killer. Then she was blacking out or something, and she didn't realize she was killing all these people.
I can see why you thought that, because at the start she's the last one with Ilario.
I think they want you to entertain that idea at first. And that's fine. But I'm so glad that wasn't what actually happened.
They couldn't really do that, because then Esri would go to prison. Or, even worse, Cisco would come up with an excuse for Esri to not go to prison.
You know the latter would happen.
Yeah, he'd say, oh, come on.
She's my crew.
You're blacking out. You're not a danger to society. You're 100% fine now.
That wasn't the Esri I know.
He's already starting to convince me. I agree with Cisco.
History shows us that's a wise position to take.
Odo put on safety goggles.
Despite not having real eyes. He needs a safety goggle for his entire body.
But in case he gets shot?
Yeah, he doesn't want to have to take the bullet out of his belly. I don't know.
It's really weird. But there is a good reason why I could see he had to put on safety goggles.
I can think of a good reason. He's living among humans. He's going to pick up habits, if not just to appear normal.
There's a better reason.
Yes.
Operational health and safety.
Okay.
It's in the rules. Safety goggles are required. They didn't put in a caveat for if you're a species that's impervious to physical harm, then, maybe you don't need them.
That is a better reason. I could see Odo following that.
He could have not worn safety goggles, but then Dax would have to write them up. They'd have to file a card with some fancy 4 or 5 letter acronym like FAST or SAFE.
Then he would have to attend a safety seminar.
Which would be a 1 hour VHS tape on a CRT TV. On one of those little TV stands on wheels.
Black and white. The tracking isn't set up correctly.
All in all, it's easier just to put the goggles on.
Yes. When in doubt, put the goggles on.
Even if they do nothing. How many seconds did it take you before you reckoned Ilario would die?
Oh, I knew immediately. Here's a guy we've never seen before who did something great and everybody's celebrating. And then the final piece of, okay, this guy is going to die is when he's looking at a picture and saying, oh, I wish they could have seen this.
It's a nice little foreshadowing. But yeah, he was dead. He was 100% dead from practically the opening shot.
You can't have Bashir give a toast like that to you when your face has previously been unseen. That just means you're going to die.
He even encouraged Bashir. He said, I want to hear a bit more. He should have
I'm
said,
going to die.
Please
keep
stop.
talking.
You're getting me killed here.
If you say another word, I am super dead. He flipped a famous Winston Churchill insult.
That was not really Churchill.
Oh, it's not?
A lot of the things that are attributed to Churchill were really said by Oscar Wilde and Abraham Lincoln.
And Mark Twain.
Mark Twain as well, yep.
And Oscar Wilde. Wait, you said him.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I didn't really like that they used the kind of classic or cliched line, if you will. But then again, I suppose there's probably plenty of people that haven't heard it, so it would be just as witty for them as it was for anyone else when they heard it for the first time.
It doesn't work as well as a compliment, though.
No, not really. There was another nice foreshadowing shot when Duran and Isri go to search once more the quarters of the victims. As soon as they do that, it cuts to them in Ilario's quarters, and the half of the frame is filled up with a photograph with Esri and Duran in the other half of the frame. And it pans up.
Pick up on that.
Yeah, if you know it, then it's quite clever.
The camera work in general in this episode is really good. We see some unusual angles during the nightmare sequence thing, and the targeting system. It's all a little different from stuff we're used to seeing.
I think that's why I like this episode. It just feels more kind of grown up than a lot of Star Trek can sometimes feel.
It strays in a lot of subtle ways from the typical episode.
Did you spot the 47?
No, I didn't.
You didn't? It was really obvious. Usually they're more subtle than this one. Ezri says there's 48 Vulcans on board. We can't search through 48 suspects. And Duran says we just have to eliminate 47 then.
I keep forgetting to look out for it, so it usually slips right by me.
It's in most episodes. It's often quite hard to spot. But it's a lot easier when they say a number close to 47, and then you know it's going to come up. So in this case, they said 48, you know, they're going to reframe that number away such that it's 47.
Kind of a weird thing to compliment, but I like that multiple people died. And that's because I thought it was going to be the one death, and then the whole episode is trying to figure that out. But then having more than one death ratcheted up the tension and then made it more confusing to try to solve it because it seemed random.
It reminded me of The Darkness and the Light, where Kira's friends are getting offed one by one. When they do that sort of serial killer thing, or multiple murders one after the other, it really ups the pace, which is good for a 45-minute show. Some of the murder investigation episodes can get a little bit boring.
Especially when it's about a guy we just met.
Yeah, there's what's the one with Odo where he's investigating the lady and it's a bit boring.
I don't recall.
A Simple Investigation. I don't know, we've had a few Odo episodes. Some of them are really good, but some of them are not so good.
It's also good that this is a murder investigation that doesn't exclusively follow Odo. Other people can investigate murders.
Yeah, they have an active serial killer. They wouldn't just say, Odo, how's that coming along? You really need to get that. Everyone else, though, just duty as normal. They would probably get the whole staff on it.
But even in this episode, Ezri says, Odo's gonna catch him, right? Or something like that.
Well, Odo is good, so it makes sense. There's an old UK TV series, which I expect you have not heard of, called Randall and Hopkirk Deceased.
You are correct. I have not heard of that.
Oh, this episode is weirdly similar. Randall and Hopkirk Deceased is about two detectives, one of whom is a ghost that only the other one can see.
Okay.
And they solve crimes. It's kind of like this episode.
Was the ghost a serial killer?
I don't think so. He was a detective.
That's a shame.
Is that a shame?
I
More
don't
serial
know.
killers in the world?
Hey, this episode is prejudiced against serial killers.
Really?
It suggests that they're all the same. She accesses Duran to think like a serial killer, but that presumes they all think the same.
Do you know that they don't? That could be an established fact.
No.
I think that might actually be the case nowadays, or not the same, but there's a certain niche which is filled by serial killers.
They have patterns of behavior.
Yeah, very common characteristics.
Fine.
How about you share with us a lovely quote from this delightful episode.
How could anyone be so happy with such unattractive children? That line really got me.
What? That's quite harsh.
It's really funny.
I want to say that they're cute kids to the parents. Wasn't that the blue guy?
I think so.
How'd you even tell? The bullions. Okay, maybe that's racist.
So Duran was a serial killer and a racist. And he hates children.
Yeah, you're not really dragging these characters through the muck there. The serial killer thing pretty much nails him as not a great guy.
I probably should have listed those in reverse order.
Well, yeah.
He's a serial killer. And he hates children. Doesn't have quite the impact.
It's quite a good line for him, though. He doesn't understand how someone can be happy because he just looks at it in a kind of shallow and objective way.
That's so far removed from the life he led and wanted to lead.
As if, had he had the chance to have children, he would have been hypercritical of them.
Oh no, this child won't do. We have to return it.
So with this, we're on to the last half of the last season. This is episode 13 out of sort of 26.
I didn't check the numbers, so I trust you.
Yeah, I'm not lying.
That would be a weird thing to lie about.
Have you got any thoughts leading up to the last half?
Someone's gonna die.
Ooh, who's gonna die?
Someone important. Someone we care about. Because it's the end. It doesn't matter.
You gonna place any bets?
I think the one that would make me the most sad is Kira. So I don't know if they have the nerve to do that, to pull that off. But yeah, I don't think they'll do that.
How
actually.
could Kira die? That doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, there's no way O'Brien or Kira would die.
Yeah, O'Brien, nah. We've seen that O'Brien can get through anything.
Including death.
I'm not... Well, there you go. Maybe he does die and then he's just fine.
He was just a little bit dead.
If you wanted to bet on someone dying, I would bet on Wayoon.
Oh, yeah, he's gonna die.
How many times is the question, though? So we'll have to continue on towards the finish line.
Damar's gotta die.
Because he's the bad guy?
Yeah.
He's the baddest bad guy.
Didn't Kira have a line about making sure Ducat dies? I could see her choking him out.
Nah, she wouldn't choke the cat out. He'd just enjoy it too much, and then she'd get kind of like sickened. She would punch his skull in. She would tear his head clean off from his body using only her hands.
That's more accurate.
I think if Kira was let loose on the cat, the resulting actions would not be appropriate for broadcast on television.
He wouldn't last very long.
Anyway, this is highly divergent. Let's move on to the next episode.
Yes, that's a great idea.